Hi everybody, welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, Certified Wellbeing Expert, working with educational institutions and companies, supporting their family wellbeing challenges. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference. And today I'm very excited to be interviewing Magda, finally. Hi Magda.
Hi, Yasmin. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Thank you so much for joining. I know feels like ages. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Right. Hi, everyone. And hi, Yasmin. And again, thank you so much for opportunity to have this curious discussion, as we said just before we started. So my name is Magda Snowden. I am a former nurse executive. I have worked in both public and private healthcare systems in the UK, Dubai, and Kuwait. And as a career pivot, I have developed a five-step mental agility framework. And I am now in the space of mental agility, leadership coaching, team transformation, and mental health first aid. I
Oh,
work
wow.
primarily with healthcare professionals, but also beyond, because there is a lot of cross-industry learnings and cross-industry solutions that we can use to help people navigate stress and prevent burnout.
Wow, it's so amazing the work that you do. I'm really excited to be learning more from you today. So you chose this title, Mental Agility, the New Currency for Leading Effectively,
Mhm.
which sounds amazing. And can you tell us a little bit about that and why you chose it for today?
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to talk about mental agility, and the conversation definitely is gaining traction in the recent months. So let's start with the definition. Mental agility is the ability to deal effectively with what is going on inside us and outside us.
Wow.
It's a skill. What was the second question?
Yeah, tell us what made you choose this title for today?
Right, yeah. So going back to my career in healthcare, what I've noticed over the years that humans working in healthcare are suffering stress and very often burnout, and majority of stressors in healthcare and other industries are stressors that are people related. So we have three types of stressors: human, processes, and technology related. But people
Okay,
related stressors are the top one category. So what I mean
really?
is we as humans are not able to deal with other humans. So we have the conflicts, misunderstandings, arguments with colleagues at work because we take things personally, because we don't understand how our brain is wired. Our brain is wired for negativity, we know that, and we need to push sometimes very hard to move to the positive side. Uh, as humans, we also label and we judge. And this is like, the innate behavior that is embedded in us. But the minute we understand that we are wired this way, we can start shifting these behaviors. So use curiosity instead of judgment or labeling. So instead of saying, oh, this is a low performer or, a troublemaking patient, we can ask a question. And I use a specific phrases. For example, when I work with leaders or teams in healthcare organizations, I teach them to start every conversation with what matters to the other person instead of what is the matter with that person.
Oh,
The
okay.
minute we shift that mindset to the curiosity oriented mindset, we can prevent a lot of conflicts, a lot of misunderstanding, and definitely
Yes,
reduce.
yes. Of course, it makes so much sense, doesn't it, what you're saying? Because if you automatically go in and you're feeling like you're accusing the other person of something,
Mhm, mhm.
of course they're going to be defensive, and then there's not going to be any real effective communication, is there? Whereas,
Yeah,
like you said, if you stand back and be
yeah.
curious, you're giving that other person space, trust, you're not
Mhm,
judging them. So
mhm.
giving them time to think as well, and they're probably going to come up with a much more useful answer that can help find a solution.
Yeah, giving space. I think this is one of the keywords that you said in there. We just need to step back and pause for a second. So another
Yeah.
thing that I also teach is pause, think, talk. And majority of
course.
people keep the first two. So we just talk. That's why conflict happens in organizations. That's why we are stressed. We don't want to work with our colleagues because they don't understand us. Our boss is difficult. Our customer is difficult. Our family at home is difficult. And then we end up in that cycle of just talking and creating a constant conflict and constant stress.
Exactly. And this is everywhere, isn't it? It can be in all aspects of our lives, at work, family, everyday life. Just go into the supermarket, you can be caught up and be stressed. I've seen people, queue up in the supermarket and they're so stressed out. And I'm like, wow, I've been like that before, where you want everything now because every second you feel like you've got to get everything done now, the pressure. And when you're in that cycle, even people tell you, relax, it's not that stressful. Nothing can really get you out of it, can it? Apart from your own awareness and learning.
Yeah, when you are in a constant stress cycle, this is an emergency state for a human being. So someone who is in emergency state will not get the message when you tell them to relax. So funny that I learned a lot about science of stress, and stress is an algorithm. And the minute you understand it, you can do something to break that cycle. So instead of telling that person to calm down or relax, you need to know how to move them out from that highly emotionally agitated state. So they need to almost be moved from that space somewhere else to be able to start a conversation about relaxing, like what is going on. So it's probably the worst case scenario to tell someone calm down and relax when they are really furious and agitated.
Of course, it never works. Like, why do people do that? It never, ever works. Yeah. So what would you, so we've spoken about, mental agility. So you mentioned mental agility is, what did you say? Knowing yourself inside and out.
Yeah, the ability to deal effectively with what is going on inside us and outside us.
Amazing. And so where can we start with this? Where do we start?
Okay. I said at the beginning, I have developed a 5-step mental agility.
Yes.
Which I use in coaching, mentoring, training. A lot of times coaching doesn't work, either because people don't believe in it, or they're not in the right space, or they are skeptical about it, or they had an experience before and it didn't work. What I found being really effective is to first equip my clients with the science part. So the stress algorithm, that our brain is wired for negativity, just to understand how the labeling works, why we create conflicts in the workplace, why do we label, why do we judge, why. So the minute, as you said, awareness, the minute we have awareness, with awareness comes choice. And with choice comes change. And this is the algorithm: awareness, choice, change. Sometimes you need to try a few different options, right? So you need to make a few different choices, try what is working for you. And then if it's producing a positive effect, then you're going to continue. And this is how you're going to start moving out from the continuously stressed state to more calm state. And calmness produces results. This is how I also explain this to leaders in organizations, because people often ask, so how is this framework going to be effective? How can I measure ROI? How can I measure VOI, the value on investment? Everything is measurable, but again, people need to be in the right space to understand this message. If they are
definitely.
Yeah.
Because you can't hear if you're so stressed, like you said, like if you're in that frame of mind, doesn't matter what anyone's saying to you, you're not going to hear it, are you? Like, so awareness, definitely awareness. I totally agree with that. So education, awareness, and like you said, trial and error, because some things you can try might work for other people, but just might not work for you. Because that happens a lot, doesn't it? And I think it's probably important to know that we really have to take time out, to spend on figuring this out. It's not just going to happen overnight, a quick fix. So what would you say about that? when people just want a quick fix, don't they?
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because we were just discussing about the autopilot mode. And
Oh, yes,
here
yes.
in the UAE, we are living here in Dubai, and it's almost like it's a glamorous place to be, but people never stop in here. When you look outside, you look on social media, it's 24/7. There's so many events, there's a pressure to be everywhere, and there is the fear of missing out. You have the FOMO, and then you have the
Yeah.
JOMO. Joy.
Oh, yeah, I've got joy mode now.
Of
Joy
missing
mode now.
out. So it's almost, again, if you are constantly stressed and perhaps you are burned out, how do you come to a space when you can pause, when you can slow down? Again, it's not easy to tell someone slow down.
No.
You need to move them out from that highly emotionally charged state so they can appreciate that there are different options, because very often we just tell ourselves this is the only way that I can have professional
Yes.
success, this is the only way how I can prove myself. I need to continue going no matter what.
Yeah, there's no other way. You just think there's no other way. This is the only way because you're just so like this, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, okay, so what other things would you say, like tools and techniques? Because I know you teach a lot of these tools and techniques when you give your workshops, talks and everything. So what would be, I know you said the first step's awareness, but then after that, what would be the next?
So I start with the science, and
Oh
then
yeah.
I use a variety of assessments. It can be
Oh,
emotional intelligence assessment, resilience assessment. It really depends what the individual or the team requires. So
right. Okay.
it's all personalized. It's not a one one
Yeah.
approach or a blanket approach that I can use. But there are tools that are already proven to work. So the minute we know the pain point, the individual has the awareness, then we can choose the right approach. And sometimes it's coaching, sometimes we need to start with training. And very often it's a blended approach. So it can be a little bit of training, then mentoring and coaching. Then also what helps with these individuals and teams for them to understand the value on investment, how upgrading their mental agility is going to benefit them not only in professional life but also in personal life. We forget that life is not only work, and people keep talking about work-life balance. Actually it's life balance or life integration. There
Yeah.
isn't work on one side and then life on the other.
Exactly. We're one person. We can't split, chop us. Yeah, exactly.
one
We take
person one person, we are holistic human beings.
yes.
So it's
Yeah.
mind, body, and spirit. We cannot just shift our mindset. And if we are not taking care of our body, of our spiritual side, and this is also what I highlight in my coaching, training, and mentoring, it's a holistic approach. I would always address the well-being of the individual first. There is no conversation about professional success, improving outcomes, business outcome of organization, if the well-being component is not addressed.
Exactly. What about if somebody says, I'm eating well, I go to the gym, but they're permanently stressed out?
So that's good. If they are doing something on the physical side, this is already a good start.
Okay. Yes.
Because so we would then, do like a full assessment and see what is the need. And if you're saying they're permanently stressed out, then we would start the conversation like, what is stress? Let us understand. Majority of the time, people have a very vague understanding of what stress is. So for example,
Yes.
I did a lot of coaching interventions when I was in my permanent role back in a hospital in Kuwait. And I coached leaders, and I did some team coaching interventions for senior nurse leaders. So there was a typical day. The nurses come to the huddle every day in the midday, and they start saying, I am busy, I am busy, I am stressed out. So I started understanding there is a pattern. When I would ask a question, so can you tell me more? What is stress, or what do you mean by busy? There would be silence. So it really would take them a long time to come up with an answer. And then when eventually, after the uncomfortable silence, there is an answer, they would understand that sometimes we use busy or stressed for a million different situations in life.
Yeah.
And for our brain to find the solution, we need to be really specific. So what I found with specifically the nurse supervisors, they would be really stressed because they're at capacity, they really need help. They cannot look after the patients effectively. But because they're going around in this busy and stress cycle, this stops them from asking for help. So it's like the
Oh,
minute you
yeah.
understand, you can say, I need help. Can you send an extra pair of hands? Can I ask my boss? Can you move this patient? Can you do something? But if we continue run around like, like a hamster on a wheel, I'm
Yeah,
busy,
you're
I'm
so
busy,
overwhelmed.
you
And you
are
don't
more
think,
stressed.
yeah, and your brain doesn't actually function properly, does it? Your body, when you're under that stress, your mind and body don't actually function properly.
Yeah.
Like even if you're eating, your body doesn't process the food properly, does it,
Yeah.
if you're stressed? And you
Yeah.
can't think properly. You cannot make good decisions, can you, when you're stressed?
Mm-hmm. It's a state of overwhelmed. And so when you've asked that question, Yasmin, just now, someone is telling that they are in a good physical shape, they go to the gym, but they are permanently stressed. I would still go deeper into that conversation because, as you said, the mental stress is going to show up in our physiology.
Yeah.
There is no disconnection between mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't always see the stress, can you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't know what damage it's doing to your body as well until it's done some real damage, for example. I think personally, stress is a silent killer.
Yeah. That is true. I have to agree with you on this one.
Yeah, yeah. So what other, I know you work with leaders and you teach them all about mental agility. Like what kind of problems do they come to you with? Like what are the biggest challenges and problems?
Except stress and burnout, what I hear a lot of the time is like, I don't have time. I don't have
Yeah.
time for wellness. I don't have time, even to sit down with my team and have a curious
Yeah.
conversation, to ask questions. That's why we see people like very often in organizations like, how are you? How are you? But you are not even waiting for this individual to answer. It's
No,
like,
you've gone. You've gone.
it's robotic, And again,
Yeah.
when people say they don't have enough time, it's a scarcity mindset, right? Again, I would start with the science component after we unpick really what is the actual issue, but understanding even the scarcity mindset. When we are in scarcity mindset, we are not going to find solutions. We will just continue the same story. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough money. And it's going to be forever the same narrative. So for people to understand, again, this is how our brain works. The scarcity mindset is there for a reason. The brain is trying to
Yes.
protect, right? So let's
Yeah.
continue with the same narrative instead of going outside, pushing ourselves outside and see what is the other option. Can I try something else? Can I ask for help?
Amazing. Yeah. Asking for help can change everything. And, I'm sure we've got lots of leaders watching now. I know you have explained a little bit about the benefits of mental agility awareness, but can you tell us more about the benefits and why, leaders should really be taking this seriously?
This is actually $1 million question because,
Yeah.
I research a lot. So I need
Do
to
you?
know the recent data points, the statistics, stress and burnout, numbers, but also World Economic Forum and Thinkers 50, the organizations that predict future managerial and leadership skills. They've already highlighted, I think last year, that emotional agility is the skills for leaders to lead effectively. Because we
Wow.
don't need to be stressed at work. And if you want to move from surviving to thriving, if you want to have fun at work and really find the meaning of what you are doing, this is the skill to have. So this is the sign that people need to understand. It's not something that I have imagined. Obviously, I have seen through my journey in healthcare that this is what is causing a lot of stress and perhaps professional dissatisfaction as well. And we know the rates of healthcare professionals, and not only people leaving, we can now see the great resignation, the quiet quitting, how many individuals are moving from corporate to entrepreneur role. But again, even the move, you need to think
Yes. Yes.
the skills. Because myself, when I moved from full-time employment to a solo role, how am I gonna deal with the unknown, the unpredictability of the market,
Yes.
the rejections, and everything else that is going, the competition that is fierce,
Yeah.
especially in part of the world. So again, it's all about the skill set. The
You're
minute you
right.
upgrade your mental agility, a lot of benefits happen. Major one for me is the stress reduction, because you don't need to cause stress for yourself. There is enough going on in the world currently to stress you, and
Yes.
stress is a natural part of life. We cannot remove it. It's there. Sometimes it's on a low level, sometimes it's on a higher level. But having a skills to navigate it graciously and elegantly, this is all that mental agility is about.
Oh no, brilliant, brilliant. And if you're permanently stressed, you can really get yourself into trouble as well, can't you? You can say things you don't mean,
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment. And I think it's really interesting what you said as well. Like if you're a leader, but then you become an entrepreneur or something, you still need to know about your work on your mental agility, don't you? Because
Mhm.
you wherever, like you said, whatever you're doing in your life, we need to know how to manage stress because it's a part
Mhm.
of life, and it's
Mhm.
something that you can't really run away from. You
Yeah.
can't think, oh, I'll be an entrepreneur, it'll be easier or something like that, because you'll have another set of problems anyway. And again, it's why it's so important to work on yourself, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And the greatest investment, is the one that you will do on yourself. The more you put in, put into yourself, the more benefits you're gonna also see in your environment. Because when I improve with regards to conflict transformation, I know how to manage stress, I know how to navigate the emotional landscape of those around me, the more my immediate environment is also gonna benefit. Because I'm not causing stress for them, so they're gonna see the change. And very often, like in
Yes.
leadership, people will model what the leader is doing.
Yeah.
Seen it, it works magic. When I used to coach the senior nurse leaders, the minute, not the minute, because it took probably a few weeks or a few months for them to understand how stress works. But the most powerful feedback that I received from one of the head nurses was, I now know how to manage stress so I don't cause stress for my team. For me,
Wow.
that was, whoa, my job is done beautifully.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because yeah, of course, and if your leader is completely stressed, you're not going to want to approach them, are you? They're unapproachable. You won't want to
Mhm.
approach them, and maybe you've got a problem that can just be dealt with in a quick conversation. But if you can't, if you're too scared to approach,
Yeah,
then that problem could manifest and get bigger, and then you've got more stress now, and
yeah,
then you'll pass that on. So it has a knock-on effect.
yeah.
However the leader is, has a knock-on effect with everybody, doesn't it?
Yeah, and imagine in healthcare, right? It all translates
Yeah.
into patients' outcomes. What kind of care they are going to receive. And then you have the patient's family, the relatives, and the whole ecosystem. So it is
Well,
the
that's
knock.
scary.
And we want to produce a positive change, not a negative change.
That's really scary, actually, when you think about jobs like that, which are so important. It's like
Mm,
life, it could be a difference between saving a life or not.
mm,
Like with surgeons, sometimes I think about that. I think you hear sometimes surgeons work, you know, hours and hours and hours, and they're under all that stress. And I think that could be, yeah, a difference between saving that patient or not.
mm.
But try not to think about that. But no, that is stressful. But no, thank you so much, Magda. And anybody else who's watching, if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. We've got lots of people on Instagram as well. Any questions about mental agility? Magda is definitely your person. So Magda, what else would you like to mention that you haven't really talked about mental agility?
I would actually, number one advice I think from me is to bear in mind and have that, question or that reminder in your head when you are stressed and you are about to disagree with someone, or someone
Yeah.
is really pushing your limits or triggering you. It's normal. We will always get triggered. We are humans. But how quickly we will recover from that trigger and go back to the normal state, this is mental agility. So
Yeah.
these few reminders for yourself, like pause, think, talk.
I like
Also,
that. It's
that
important.
every conversation with empathy and curiosity instead of label or judgment is very easy. But the minute you are able to have that awareness in the most heated situation, you can just step back and say, "Hang on a second, it's not the right time for
Oh,
me to
yeah.
let me breathe or let me think." Let the critical brain, the critical thinking kick in instead of the emotional response.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, you're gonna have a much better outcome.
Totally. And you actually, that's happened to me before where I've chosen another act, I've paused, I've responded, and I'm like, wow, I feel so proud of myself. I changed that behavior. It takes time, but it's so rewarding when you do it. But before we go, actually, one question I didn't ask you was what made you decide to be an expert in this particular subject, mental agility? And I know it's so important, but what made you, did you have a personal experience with it? Like what made you do
I
this?
received a feedback from my boss a few years back during a morning huddle. The lady said to me, Magda, nursing is not your passion anymore.
Oh,
And that was really profound. I started thinking, and immediately I wanted to say, "What do you mean?" I became a nurse as a mature, person. I went to do my nursing studies and all the extra courses, and then I started being curious. So I started asking questions. Right? What do you mean? Tell me more. What do you see? Because others
oh
very often
really?
see our future capacity before we can recognize it in ourselves.
Wow.
And she saw a coach. She saw a really skilled coach,
Wow.
someone who can bring people to the table and make them work on projects that they've been struggling for years. And again, the same hospital in Kuwait, we were able to complete some projects within 3 months that were failing for the past few years. So this is my strength. And actually, the values of nursing and the values of coaching are very similar. I'm still using, the empathy, curiosity, compassion, but empower people, let's say, on a larger scale and with a slightly different set of skills.
Oh wow. So it was really somebody else actually helped you. And
Realize,
obviously
yeah.
she knows what you're doing now.
Yes.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. No, thank you, Magda. But yeah, no, it's been really, really interesting learning all about mental agility. I think it's such an important thing. I think, if you learn how to manage your stress, you probably live longer as well.
Absolutely. And there is a research supporting this, right? Because stress is really an epidemic, we know. And stress, burnout is an epidemic. And then if you are burnt out, it causes loneliness in workplace. So there is so many
Yeah.
negatives and so many things that can go wrong on a physiological level when you are mentally stressed. And it's the whole scenario after that. We are holistic human beings. So the whole being is going to be in a not very good place if we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, it's a wake up call, definitely, definitely. And hopefully people realize this before it is too late. Because a lot of the time with stress, people normally realize, unless they have awareness and trainings and things like that, educational interventions, normally people realize when something really bad happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like they get sick or I don't know, they have an accident because they were driving too fast because they were, yeah, hopefully we don't want it to, come to that. But no, thank you so much, Magda. It's been lovely talking to you. Can you tell us where we can find you?
Thank you, Yasmin. It's a very empowering discussion. So thank you for letting me sharing all these insights. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I also run a weekly LinkedIn Lives on
Yes.
Thriving Together, Unveiling Solutions for Stress and Burnout for Healthcare Professionals, and my website, www.magdasnowden.com.
Amazing, amazing. Let's just say hi to Kez. Hi, Kez. He says, Jasmine, Magda, laying down the knowledge of mental agility. Always great to hear you both talk on improving culture and leadership, no matter the arena. Thank you so much, Kez. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much, Magda, and thank you everybody else for watching. If you have any questions on this, please message Magda directly or put a comment on the post, and I will see everybody next week.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.